Hey guys, and welcome back to Justin Reads Romance. I'm Justin, and today I'm doing something new. I'm actually going to try to do something that one of my dear friends, Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, does weekly. She does some weekly vlogs. Basically, anything that she's reading during the week, she vlogs it so that on Monday she has a vlog to edit and post, and it's just like a great way, especially if you're reading less books, to do kind of a weekly wrap up. My schedule is a lot different now than it used to be, and I'm just trying to figure out ways that I can post more consistently to YouTube. I just have to change a couple of things. So I figured, why not try this? And so I'm going to talk about like the books that I'm reading. It's Friday currently, but it'll be a weekend reading vlog, and I'll start again next week and see how that works out for me. But I thought that I would bring you guys with me right now, because if you notice behind me, I have my historical shelf, and I just emptied out this shelf behind me. All the books are currently down here next to me. Yes, I'm in my pajamas. Currently I'm sick. Unfortunately, I contracted COVID again. I picked it up from the hospital, and it was somebody who was asymptomatic, a patient. So unfortunately, I got COVID. Thankfully, it's a lot better than it was last year. The symptoms are more like a sinus cold type of thing, which I'm grateful for, but I'm ready to be better. But I have a book library that I keep track of on my phone. So the app is called Bookbuddy. This is the one that I use on my iPhone. Let's see if it will show you. Probably not. Why? Okay, here we go. So Bookbuddy is right here, and that's the app I use. This is a way for me to keep track of all the physical books that I own. It's especially important for the historical ones, because if they're collector's editions, like old school historicals that are no longer in print and have these special covers, these special clinch covers that you want to own, or ones that have step backs like these Stephanie Lauren's, the Bastion Clubs, they have some of my favorite step backs in them. You want to make sure that you're not buying multiple copies of those, and I thought that I would scan them while I listen to the audiobook that I'm currently listening to. I'm in the middle of reading the Pennyroyal Green series by Julie Ann Long. I'm on book 9. No, I'm on book 8. It's Between the Devil and Ian Eversea. So this series focuses on two families, the Redmonds and the Everseas. They have kind of like a Capulet and Montague dynamic. They don't like each other. And there's kind of like a saying that every generation, a Redmond and an Eversea will fall in love, and they will ruin each other or be miserable or whatever. It'll end in heartbreak. So it's a long-running series. There's 11 books in the series, and I've been listening to them on AnyPlay. I find it fascinating that the last few books in the series have been really interesting in terms of the heroines. A couple books ago, Julie Ann Long had a heroine who, she wasn't a part of the aristocracy. She wasn't a daughter of a wealthy aristocrat, or she wasn't an impoverished aristocrat looking to, save her family or whatever. The heroine was actually not a part of the aristocracy at all. She was pretending. She was pretending to be something that she wasn't, but she was beautiful, and she was trying to act like she was accomplished, but she wasn't. I was like, this is a very interesting type of heroine. So anyway, these past couple of books, they've had very interesting heroines. And I mention that because this heroine, Titiana, her nickname's Tansy, she is kind of an unlikable heroine, but I'm still fascinated by her. She's an American, and her parents have both passed away, and she's related to one of the Eversea's husbands. He's a duke. So she goes to live in England with the Duke and Genevieve Eversea. She wants to make a great match, and she is a great beauty. People compare her to like an angel. Like, she has such beautiful angelic features. She's also incredibly charming, but she knows she's charming, and she uses that on men. She kind of really likes the attention. So she makes everyone else feel really good about themselves, and she ends up by attracting the attention of a lot of men, okay? And this rubs a couple of people the wrong way, especially other women, including Genevieve, who is already happily married, but she's just like, this woman, Tansy, do you think that she's like, there's something odd about her manner. Like, it feels like there's a pretense about her. And it's true. She pretends to be less accomplished so that she can make like men feel really good about teaching her something or whatever. And she actually is quite like bold and a little unconventional. And she actually set her sight on Ian Eversey. Ian Eversey is like the man whore of the family. He does not want to settle down. And when she sees him, she's like dumbstruck and she's not behaving like herself. She's usually calm, collected, knows exactly what to say to have these men melt like putty in her hands. But with Ian, she can't do that and it's bothering her so much. Ian is seeing through this charade. He's like, what is she doing? But she's also annoying him because she has attracted the attention of one of his sister suitors. I really like this dynamic because she's just so used to having men fall at her feet and Ian's not doing it. And they just had a confrontation where Ian kind of calls her out for doing it. And I really love that. I like this unconventional relationship that they have so far. Even though I don't personally like Tansy, I'm still very drawn to their story and I really like the way that Julianne Long is telling it. So I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm very curious to learn more about Ian Eversey because it just seems like he is, a very privileged young man who, a younger son, he has a tendency to sleep with wealthy widows and he doesn't want to settle down. He doesn't see himself settling down in the near future. But it seems like he is a little bit emotionally and possibly physically scarred from a war. And I feel like there's just more than meets the eye to Ian Eversey. Kind of like Jonathan Redmond, which was the previous book, The Other Family. He was kind of like the rogue of the family, the one who slept around everyone to settle down. I love the way that Julianne Long developed his character, and I'm expecting something very similar for Ian. So I'm not that far in. I'm only about 13 chapters. I'm listening to it on AnyPlay, so I'm going to listen to that while I scan in some books. I'll update you guys after I'm done with this shelf, which could take a little minute. So I just finished adding this shelf up here to my Bookbuddy app. So let's see how many books that I have so far. I'm almost done with this. I only have 2 more shelves, like I said. So currently with my contemporary shelf in the corner over there and the majority of this shelf done, I have 530 physical copies of books with 2 shelves left, and then my fantasy and paranormal big shelf to do as well. I'm trying to do 1 shelf, like this kind of shelf, each day because right when I got the Bookbuddy app and right after I built my shelves, I decided to start scanning them. The contemporaries were really easy. You can just scan them and the majority of them would pop up in the Bookbuddy app. You didn't have to add anything except your rating and if you wanted to keep track of like the series, which I find really nice because if you're looking to see like in a particular series. So for example, I just did Stephanie Lauren's Sinister series. And if I look up in the Bookbuddy app, it'll probably be easier, honestly, if I just record this so we don't have trouble with glare. But if I use the search bar under my books and I look up Sinister, that's not how you spell it, Sinister, you can look at the library and tap volumes. So these are all of the books that I have. I don't know why this one is showing up kind of a Rake's Vow. It's kind of like blacked out, but you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's easy to keep track of the ones that I actually don't have, and you can do your ratings as well. So yeah. Oh, the 3 is because that's the one that I clicked on. I gotcha. It's just letting me know. So yeah, I just did that one, and it's really easy to use except for the old school historicals. So Virginia Henley's books, one of the more old school ones, these barcodes don't scan. They don't correlate to the ISBN numbers. So you have to type in the ISBN numbers down here and manually add them. And the majority of the time, they don't have really good pictures for the old school historicals. So I end up physically taking pictures of them, cropping them. So I know that this shelf, the next 2 shelves, which are full of, old school historicals like Virginia Henley, Deborah Deere, Shirley Bisbee, Catherine Coulter, I'm going to have to manually enter in Kathleen Woodwise. I'm going to have to manually enter them all in. So that's going to definitely take me a lot longer. But tomorrow, that is my goal. I find if I just take it a shelf at a time, it feels less daunting because it does take a lot of time. But I'm curious to see how many books I own. And this does not include the bags of books that I want to give away and get rid of. So this is very nice. I'm happy that I'm finally committing and following through. I got a good portion of Between the Devil and Ian Eversey listened to. I'm at a really interesting part because I would say almost the first half of the book, the characters weren't getting along. They really had a bad first impression, or he had a bad first impression of her, and she couldn't understand why he wasn't falling for her or falling over himself because she's so beautiful and so charming and everyone else does it. So I really like that their relationship is developing so gradually. It's just very interesting to me. But now they're at a point where, since he has called her out and basically told her, like, I know what you're doing, and she's like, okay, he does see what I'm doing. So she has no reason to basically put on a pretense in front of him anymore. And they're finding out, to his horror, that he really likes being around her, because his plan is to go off and go voyaging. He does not plan on falling in love. He does not plan on staying in Pennyroyal Green. He wants to get out of town. But there's this wonderful moment. So Tansy, I believe either her mother, I think her mother might have been British, but her father was American. She was actually born in England, and she grew up for, first 5 or 7 years of her life in England. And that house that she grew up in is now for sale. And her cousin, the Duke, is looking to buy it for his wife, Genevieve. And Genevieve is Ian's sister. But Ian goes to the estate, and he goes to find this tree that she and her brother had carved their names into. And the Duke is there as well, and Ian has no idea that the Duke's watching him. And they have a bad relationship, which that's another story. It's in Genevieve's book. But Ian caresses her name there. And after they awkwardly, see each other and Ian leaves, the Duke wants to discover, like, what was he doing over there? And he sees, that there's something more to this relationship with Ian and Tansy. It's very interesting. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that this series does a lot of different tropes and different characterizations very well. So I'm enjoying it, and I'll let you guys know whenever I finish it. I'm not that far off from being done. Good morning. I'm sorry my voice sounds so raspy, but on top of me being sick, it is the morning, so I don't know. We're just gonna have this voice for now. We're gonna roll with it. I haven't really drank my coffee yet. Look at my cute Raging Cajun cup. This, I got it when I graduated from college the first time. The mascot of the school is literally a Raging Cajun. So, yeah. Or there's a pepper too. I don't know. I didn't really go to those football games. Oh man, I need that. Okay, so I have a lot to catch up on with this vlog, but not a lot of time has passed. The bad thing about being me is that I tend to read a lot at night. Get a lot of reading done at night. So I have my update for Between the Devil and Ian Eversey, and then I have an update for a completely different book that I started and finished last night / this morning. So I really enjoyed The Devil and Ian Eversey. It was pretty fascinating the way that Julianne Long presented this character, especially the female character, especially the heroine, like Tansy. To me, she was unlikable. She was presented in a way that it wasn't that she was mean, but she seemed a little bit vapid. She seemed a little bit self-centered and also callous in a way that she was attention seeking. She was attention seeking. But what was really beautiful about what Julianne Long did with her character was she did make her sympathetic without changing her character. She was still the same Tansy, but the real heart of the story was Ian getting behind those walls and Tansy finally being able to just be herself. She had cultivated this image of a very desirable debutante, and there was nothing wrong with that. And she still likes a lot of the same things that she presented herself to like, but she was being what society wants debutantes to be. You know, like, oh, I don't know very much, and I'm so flattered by all of these stupid little poems that these guys keep on like flattering me with, and she like rewards them for that, you know? Like, she is the epitome of what society wants debutantes to be, but that's not her true core character. It was an act that she was putting on because that's what she needed to do. And I really love when Ian was just kind of like, drop the act, like, I know what you really like. I also loved, there were moments in the book because their rooms are kind of on the same side of the house, and they both have balconies. And at first, Tansy had seen Ian before even being introduced to him in the morning. He woke up and he broke wind, and he like pounded on his chest and like did like a little Tarzan scream in the morning. And she was just like, who is this man? And like, she was admiring his chest hair, and that was her first impression of Ian Eversey before she even like met him. Just like, who's that fine specimen of a man? In turn, Ian also starts noticing that Tansy has a balcony close to his, and he's able to observe her in her element when she's not in front of other people, and she's like professionally rolling a cigarette. And he's like, what? And she's like drinking whiskey. And it was just the things that he found out about her, the stuff that she didn't present to society, those felt very like private and intimate between the two. And I think that that's what really makes the relationship with them. And of course, like I said, it's similar to what Julianne Long did with Jonathan Redmond's character. They seem just like man-whorish, devil-may-care, don't really have anything going on in their lives. But there were some things that Ian was being haunted by. Had a lot to do with like the war and stuff like that. So it was just really lovely to see them open up to each other, and I really enjoyed it. So I gave that book 4.5 stars. I'm very happy with starting the Pennyroyal Green series. Not every book in this series was like phenomenal. Some were kind of boring, but there are some hidden gems, and I do feel like the characters are pretty unique. So I'm very, very happy to have read that, and I'm ready to start the next audiobook. But I knew that I needed to kind of like, I like to switch genres. That's what keeps me out of book slumps for the majority of the time, is switching between historical and contemporary and sci-fi, monster romance, or paranormal, or whatever. Like switching genres, and like sweet contemporary with like darker mafia contemporary. Like I need that difference in tone to where I'm not getting burnt out, because I don't want to get burnt out. Anyway. Okay, so last night, and I didn't open a vlog clip, like after I finished Between the Devil and Ian Eversey, I wanted to pick up the Bribe. But I was like, I'll just wait for tomorrow when I have more to say about the Bribe, because I only read this much, like not very much at all. How many pages is that? This is where I stopped reading physically. 46 pages. I read 46 pages last night before I went to bed, but unfortunately. So what I like to do, if I have a physical copy of a book, I also like to have it on Kindle, but only if it's available through Kindle Unlimited, and the Bribe is. Because if I have it on Kindle Unlimited, that means that I could read it while falling asleep without having to open like another book and get distracted by that. So what I did was I downloaded the Bribe on Kindle Unlimited through my Kindle. I fell asleep while reading it. I woke up very early this morning. I just woke up naturally at 5 o'clock, and I finished the book. I mean, it's not a very long book. It's one of the shorter Devney Perry, I know it's Will and Ash, but it's one of the shorter Devney Perry ones that I've read, and it was really good. So the premise is that our two main characters meet while the heroine is hiking with her friend Evelyn, and they're in Yellowstone National Park. They've been hiking this trail, and they're about 2 miles out from like the end of it when they run into a herd of bison that are blocking the path, and they don't know what to do. And luckily this guy comes along, and he just like, hey, the buffalo tend to knock down the trail paths. This isn't actually a trail path, this is a bison path. So here it is, I'll show you where to go. And the heroine, who she kind of stammers when she's introducing herself, she starts saying an L name, and then she corrects herself and says, Jade, I am Jade. The hero Duke kind of laughs at that, but then they just have like chemistry, and it seems like he wants to kiss her like when they get to the end of the trail. They had been walking with each other for the past 2 miles, but he doesn't, and it just seems like that's that. Well, come to find out, the heroine who introduces herself as Jade, she's really a country music star, and her name's Lucy Ross. And it seems like she is just like leaving fame behind. She used to live in Nashville. Her friend Evelyn is also a singer. She's traveling back to Nashville after they had their little like girl glamping weekend. But Lucy slash Jade is now moving to Calamity, Montana. And there's more to it than she's just wanting to just like quit her job. She's tired of the fame stuff. Something happened. There was a catalyst to her running away. And we don't really know how serious it is in the beginning. But it is a serious, like something bad happened in Nashville, and that's the reason why she's kind of like changing her identity. But unfortunately for her, her first day when she's in Calamity, she is trying to go meet her new landlord, and she's trying to follow directions. She's always late. This is like one of her things. She's always late, and she always spills on herself. And so she's speeding a little bit through the small town, and she gets pulled over by the sheriff, and lo and behold, it's Duke. It's the guy who helped her in the park, and she's just like, what? Well, he sees her ID and sees that she gave a false name, Jade. And he's like, oh, Lucy Ross, country music star, what are you doing here? And she's like, nobody can know that I'm here. I will give you money. I will pay you $100,000 if you don't give me a ticket and have it on record that I'm here, and also just like don't tell anybody that I'm here. And he's just like, okay, fine, I'll take your bribe, but you gotta tell me the story because there's something going on here, and this is my town, and I want to know. In his head, he doesn't want to take the bribe. Like that's not a thing. He doesn't care about the money, but he wants to know why she's running. He's fascinated by her. He feels he has a hunch that something bad's going on, and he just wants her to open up. So she's a little bit disappointed that he's going to take the bribe. But they start spending time with each other because, you know, he is very persistent. He shows up at her rental, I don't want to call it like cabin. It's a really nice, like renovated farmhouse on like a lot of acreage, has like a barn in the back and stuff like that. He keeps showing up like every day after work. He's just like, okay, tell me about yourself, like what's going on, I need to know. And she puts it off for a while, so they end up by hanging out a lot. And I really like their story. It was a really great small town romance. Duke is also, so he's not a single dad, he doesn't have a kid, but he's so close with his ex-girlfriend's son, Travis, and I kind of really love that relationship as well. I don't know, I just think that Devoney Perry does small town romances so well, and I enjoy The Bribe a lot. And I'm assuming that the friend Evelyn is also going to have a book in the series by the way that the book ended. So I think that she'll probably be book 2. Like I said, I have, I don't know if I mentioned, but I bought the first 3 of these books from the Target sale. And yeah, so I'll probably be reading the next book in the near future. But like I said, I want to switch up genres. So what I decided to pick up now, and I have not started it yet, I think I'm going to take, I get confused with the titles for these books, guys. Like, they're so similar, and the covers are so similar. They're so similar. I'm going to read Stolen by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd. I read the first 2 books in the series. The first one's Taken by a Sinner. Yes, okay. I'm correct. The first book is Taken by a Sinner. The second book is Owned by a Sinner. And I'm currently reading Stolen by a Sinner. And what connects these books, because it's not like one series that involves a singular like mafia family. What connects these books is that each hero is the head of their own crime organization. So the first one was a Greek mafia boss. The second one was Irish. And then this one's Turkish. So they're all different crime organizations, crime families, and they live in separate corners of the world and stuff like that. The first book, Taken, I did not like that one at all. But I had read Michelle Hurd previously, and I liked that one. So I was willing to go on to the second one. Also, Jen from the Book Refuge went on to read the second one. She's like, I like the second one a lot better. And then she was actually reading an arc of Stolen by a Sinner before it came out. And she was like, oh, this one's definitely my favorite. It was really good. So I'm very excited about this one. I don't remember hearing much about this hero, Gabriel. I don't know if we saw him very much in the first 2, but the opening, well, it says synopsis. It says, Cinderella, said to be kind, have courage, and always believe in a little magic. And this is from the live action Cinderella that was made a couple years ago, and I actually really like that one. I don't always love the new live action Disney remakes, but I really enjoy the Cinderella one. So it seems like the heroine works for the Polish mafia. She gets caught in the crossfire. I guess the Turks and the Poles are warring with each other right now. So she gets caught, interrogated, and then finds herself in the position of maid again. Only this time it's for the Turkish instead of Polish. So it's a maid boss romance. I'm in it. I'm excited. The second book of the first book of the series, it's had too much antagonism. I didn't feel the chemistry between the characters. It was also like taboo stepbrother, stepsister, which it really didn't matter because their parents got married. And the hero was 30 and she was in her 20s. Like, they did not grow up together at all. So not really taboo, but he was just an asshole and I didn't like that one. The second one was more kind of like insta-lovey and just kind of like this hero was really badass, but there was something about the heroine and he's like super soft and protective towards her. And there was very little conflict between them two. It was all external, which I liked better. It wasn't like the internal conflict of book one. So I'm excited to see what this couple will be like. I'm hoping for a little bit more depth than book two. I enjoyed book two, but it lacked a little bit of depth, both in the storytelling and the relationship as well, though it was cute. I'm just hoping for a little bit more for this one. So that's what I'm going to be reading this morning. You can see, since I've been sick, I've been camping out. I don't normally have like all my pillows from my bedroom on my couch, but I've been camping out on my sofa just because I can't leave my house. Well, it's almost over. I have like 2 days left. So yeah, I've just been chilling here watching shows. That's another good thing about having the opportunity to stay home and recover, because I got to watch movies and TV shows that I don't normally have time to watch, because if I'm not working, I am reading. I don't watch TV hardly at all anymore. So that was a fun thing that I got to do recently. I watched the new Downton Abbey movie. I treated myself to that. I also watched The Lost City of D for the first time, and that was really funny. And most recently, I finished the most recent and final season of The Last Kingdom, and that was fun. I finished that yesterday. So I'm going to be watching TV and reading this morning, and I will update you guys once I find out more about the pairing in this book. Okay, guys, so I know that this morning I said that I was going to start Stolen by a Sinner, and as I was getting dressed, I was freshening up, being presentable to the world. Jen messaged me and asked if I wanted to do an impromptu reading sprint today, and I'm wide open for this afternoon, so I was like, that sounds perfect. I think we're going to start at 3 p.m. I know that Crystal can't make it. She's busy with family today because she usually actually hosts the impromptu reading sprints that we do on Fridays, but I believe that Joe's definitely going to be on this reading sprint, and also Jackie, but I haven't heard back from Jackie yet. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing this afternoon. So I thought, because my plans for today was to actually finish my historical shelf. I wanted to finish the last 2 shelves, and to do that, I want to listen to an audiobook like I did last time, because it just makes me more productive. I think that I can knock out these 2 shelves in the next couple of hours while I have to wait for the reading sprint, so I'm going to start the next book in the Pennyroyal Green series. It's called It Started with a Scandal, and it involves LaVey, who is loosely connected to the Redmond family. Yeah. His best friend, who they were kind of like privateers, pirates together, his best friend married Violet Redmond. So that's who he's connected to, and it's his romance with a housekeeper. So I'm like, okay, cool. I really don't like to read too much into the synopsis for this series because I know that I'm going to finish reading the series, so why even bother? I'm going to start listening to that and catalog these 2. It might take a little bit longer because I have a feeling I'm going to have to take pictures of the covers, especially the Catherine Coulter ones. There are a couple I know that are the same book, but one she renamed and another one has like a totally separate cover. Hold on, let me see if I can find them. Okay, I found them. So I guess the current iteration of this book is called Evening Star, and it was previously published as Sweet Surrender, and I have 2 copies of Sweet Surrender. When I got my Catherine Coulter eBay haul, I was reading the synopsis because some of them were just kind of like very outlandish, and I realized that I had basically 3 copies of the same exact book, but they were all different. So this is the original Sweet Surrender copy, which I really love. Very beautiful. I love, love, love. Reminds me of Gone with the Wind. And then I also have this copy of Sweet Surrender. So it's actually called Sweet Surrender, but Evening Song, Evening Star, they're the same book. So I have 3 copies of them, and I need to distinguish them. Like, I have a copy with this cover, and I have a copy with that cover, and then this is the same one, and they're all part of the same series and all that jazz in my Bookbuddy library. So I definitely need the covers to distinguish them. Anyway, that's my plans. I'm gonna start doing that so that I have time to set up. I'll probably sit in this corner, since I like sitting in this corner in the afternoon because there's just like a lot of brightness that comes through this window, and I rather face this way for the live shows. I feel like there's less glare on my glasses. Anyway, you didn't want to know that, but while I'm actually doing the reading sprints, I will switch to Stolen by a Sinner. So that's my plans for today, and I'll update you guys later. All right, so I was able to do the last 2 shelves. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. And it actually wasn't that bad. Some of the books were already in the Bookbuddy library, which is awesome. But I wanted to talk about It Started with a Scandal because, guys, I really love this book. Like, I'm not even, I don't think I made it to the halfway mark yet, but it might be my favorite book in the Pennyroyal Green series, which it kind of blows my mind because the whole point of this series, like the main characters of this series, are the Redmond family and the Eversey family. But this is a side character, essentially, that got his own story, and I'm just like loving it. And it probably a big part has to do with it is that it is a Beauty and the Beast trope, which I really love. Grumpy Sunshine, like, oh, it's my catnip. So, as I said, LaVey and his friend the Earl were on ships for a good portion of their life. But LaVey is actually a prince of France. But this is after the French Revolution. So he had some family that died in the French Revolution that were beheaded, executed. And his dream is to kind of restore money and also like buy back their ancestral like home. He has a younger sister. Unfortunately, he's stuck in England for the moment. He doesn't have a lot of money. He is working for the crown. He and his friend the Earl kind of like do like secret spy stuff for the crown, but it's just not enough. He needs to marry well. And our heroine, like I said, is a housekeeper. She's also a single mom. So Elise Fountain's background is that her family, they were well off, but she's not part of the aristocracy. I think she's mentioned that her father was a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. And she did have her son Jack out of wedlock. She was not married. She was a former teacher at this school, Miss Endicott's Academy or whatever, which it's kind of a part of the series. And she lost her job because somebody made a big to-do about it. But she is friendly with the local vicar in Pennyroyal Green. He is an Eversey, Adam Eversey. He had his book in this series. And she needs a new job, so he recommends her to be the new housekeeper for LaVey. The problem is, so Elise has never been a housekeeper before, but she feels confident that she can run a household. She has been trained to do that. And she does end up by getting hired on by LaVey. And he is a surly character. He's also recently been wounded. There was an attack and he survived, but he's kind of in pain a lot of the times, but he doesn't want people to know that he's in pain. So it just creates this very grumpy character, and Elise is so sunshiny. She's trying to be super positive for her son Jack. Their favorite story is Jack and the Beanstalk. I think his real name is John, but he likes Jack better, and so does she. And he's just like a precocious child. I love when children are done well in books. Like, if you're going to include a child, make sure that they're important to the story. I don't want some run-of-the-mill just person that you never really see. I really love Jack so far. He is super adorable. But I love, love, love Elise's character. She is such a hard worker. After she gets hired on to become the housekeeper, she's introduced to the staff, or she has to introduce herself to the staff, and they're unruly, and they're kind of ruled by the cook / laundress. This woman is she's intimidating. She is very large, and she smokes her cigarettes, and she is basically running this card game thing. Like, they don't work. The house is filthy. Like, there's layers of dust. The rugs have never been beaten. It's just like LaVey has not paid attention to his staff, and he does not, I guess, have the time or inclination to really correct them. He wants somebody else to do it for him, which is Elise's purpose. So she has to basically stand up to this staff, hoping that they won't quit, but she has to like whip them into shape. And of course the cook is kind of like her nemesis, and she's trying to win over the housemaids and the footmen as well to her side, and she wants to make the house like beautiful again, and she wants them to take pride in their job and pride in their position. But the cook stands to just kind of like, well, he's not going to stay here forever anyway. This will be the easiest job. You could just join us and we could just like play cards, and don't make it harder on yourself. It's basically kind of like a threat. And I love the way that Elise just does not back down. She's like, absolutely not. We're going to clean these rooms because we want to have pride and respect for who we work for too. But LeVay is not an easy person to work for. He calls her all the time. He rings for her personally all the time. The first time he rang for her, she's a little bit late because she's trying to talk to the servant. She's a little bit late, and he's just like, I only want to have to ring for you once. I shouldn't have to ring for you twice. But she has to still maintain that sunny disposition. She does not want him to get to her because she needs this job. And also, this is a challenge for her. She wants to exceed his expectations. Like, she's not going to do something so that he can like easily dismiss her. Their banter is phenomenal. It's so great. He has such a wicked sense of humor, and I love how she gives as good as she gets. So every interaction, every time that they speak to each other, I'm like so excited, and I just love it so far. I love their relationship. I love what she's discovered about him. Like, she has discovered that he is hurt, and she starts serving him, I think it's called willow bark tea, because since her dad is a doctor, she knows a little bit about it, and she's like, this will help with like the pain and stuff, and you need to stretch your hands. And that was one of the things that he called her for the first time, was to pick up a quill that he had dropped. And at first she just kind of like, well, this asshole can't pick up his own quill. Then later she realizes it's because he's literally in pain. Like, it's hard for him to bend down, and he is a proud man. He doesn't want to say that he's in pain. So anyway, I just really fucking love it. And like, he knows that he's a little bit attracted to her, but he needs to marry somebody with wealth. And he has a childhood friend who is also French that he's eyeing because she's an heiress. And yeah, we'll see how that works out, but I'm really happy that I was listening to that audiobook. I really believe that it's going to be my favorite of the series so far. Unless the very last book, Lion Redmond's book, just pulls out the most epic second chance romance. I don't know. It's been built up a lot, so I hope that I don't have too much expectations for it. But this one's really good. This is really good. But I am about to set up to do the reading sprints, and I will be switching to Stolen by a Sinner. So once I get into that book, because I haven't started it at all, I'll let you know what I think about it. Okay, this is going to be the final update for tonight. Let's talk about Stolen by a Sinner first. I read up until like, I don't think I quite hit 40%. Let me go check. Hold on. Okay, I'm only 35% of the way through Stolen by a Sinner. I'm on chapter 20, and so far so good. I'm actually very intrigued by this dynamic between the hero and the heroine, because Laura has been working for a man. He's the head of the Polish mafia. And this dude is really heinous towards his employees. He actually keeps a box of bullets with their name carved on them as a threat to be like, you're expendable. Like, any step, any toe you put out of line, I can put a bullet in your head and you're done for. You're dead. Laura's been living with this since she was 12, I believe. Well, no, her mom died when she was 12, and she kind of took over her mom's duties as like kind of like a maid in the household. But I think she was younger actually when she was brought over from Poland with her mom by the guy. I forgot what his name is. What is his name? Timon Mazur. And it feels like he kind of like tests his employees to see, like, he's a sadist. He likes to punish people. He just does. Because when in the beginning, I'll go back to how Laura and Gabriel initially meet, but she's sent to go get him dinner, and she's given a very short amount of time to actually drive to the place and pick up this dinner for him and be back home. And when she's 5 minutes late, she gets whipped severely on her back. Like, her skin is breaking open, and this is not the first time that it's happened. So like, he enjoys punishing his employees. There's no doubt about it. But the way that Gabriel and Laura meet is that when she's out, she's coming out of the restaurant, she has the meal in a bag, and she runs into Gabriel, and all the food spills. And she's like shocked because she does not have time to wait for the food again. She cannot use his credit card again because that would be wasting his money. Like, she shouldn't have dropped it. It doesn't matter. There's no excuse for dropping the food. He won't care. He'll just punish her or possibly kill her for it. She does end up by getting money from Gabriel. Gabriel is kind of disgusted, just kind of like, oh my God, watch where you're going type of thing. But she's still late. It just so happens to be the same night that Gabriel is planning an attack on Timon, Missouri, because Gabriel has been planning revenge on this man, the leader of the Polish mafia. His parents were murdered by this guy, and he has climbed the ranks in the Turkish mafia so that he's one day so powerful that he has the men and the means to get revenge for his parents. And this is the night that he's going to attack the house. While he does, Laura gets caught in the crossfire. Literally, she does get shot, and he recognizes her. He's like, hey, this is the same girl that bumped into me. That can't be a mistake. And also Missouri just escaped. So like, she must have told him. Like, somehow he figured out I was coming and sent this girl to run into me so that they would know, and she's the reason why he's escaped, and I can't get my revenge on my parents, so take her and we're gonna interrogate her. So her wounds are treated, and Gabriel does interrogate her, but she's very, like, she's just been beaten and she's downtrodden, and she's so afraid of him and thinks that he's just gonna kill her. And she also believes that Gabriel, like, everyone treats their employees, like every mob boss treats their employees like Missouri did. And like, Gabriel's initial meeting with her does nothing to deter that image, really, because he's just kind of like, tell me, why were you at the restaurant? Like, tell me or else you'll suffer type of thing. So she's being threatened again. But he does take her back to his place and is basically putting her under watch, but also he's just like, you'll do the same duties that you did at Missouri's house, you'll be a maid. And she's taken under the wing of Nisa, who she's such a wonderful character. Nisa, she's a motherly figure that Laura really desperately needs in her life, and she realizes what a horrible childhood Laura has experienced, and she like wants her to be normal, wants her to have a normal life, normal things. And there's a moment when Gabriel realizes just like what a non-life Laura has had when she apologizes that she couldn't fit her box of things that they have fetched from Missouri's house because she wanted a couple of her things. And she's like, I couldn't fit it under the bed. That's where she usually kept her stuff at Missouri's house. I had to put it in the closet. And when he looks at it, it's a single box. It is just a box of like a couple of sweaters, like nothing. And he's just like, he's so offended by this. So he's feeling protective urges towards her. And I feel like it's, you know, I'm curious to see how the dynamic between employee and employer is going to shift, because right now he is responsible for this girl who has not experienced life at all. So it's kind of a power discrepancy. So I'm curious to see how their relationship's going to change and how he's going to start falling for her. And I'm very excited about that. But also, so while I was cooking dinner, I decided to listen to the rest of It Started with a Scandal. Guys, I love this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. It was everything I wanted it to be. Everything that I wanted it to be. It is a little bit of a slow burn, and I kind of like that. I feel like the last couple of books in the Pennyroyal Green have been slow burns. I love their relationship so much. Oh my God, it's so good. The banter is really great. Elise's character is amazing. I love how everything plays out. I absolutely love how everything plays out. It is fantastic. Chef's kiss. And it's going to go on the podcast. So Juliet and I are going to talk about it scene by scene, which will be really fun. So I'm just really glad that I read it. So now I only have one more book left in this series, Lion Redmond. So I'm sure that sometime during this week I will read that one. But yeah, I'm really surprised. The second to last book of the series, book 10, has been my favorite, which doesn't always happen. I feel like sometimes series start off really strong and then kind of just like fizzle out toward the end, but I feel like it's almost the opposite is what has happened with the series. And I'm just really glad that I read it. I'm really glad that I read it, guys. I mean, LeVay is just, he's such a swoony grump. I love him. I love him so much. And when he eventually meets Jack and they interact, it was just the best. Yeah, so I loved it. Okay, tomorrow I have work. I'm cleared to go to work. I'm excited to get out of the house. Yay! And if I have time, I will continue with Stolen by a Sinner, and I'm crossing my fingers that I will. Maybe. It's going to be a Sunday, so sometimes there's really not much going on Sundays, and I might have the time. Fingers crossed, but I'll let you guys know if I end up by finishing Stolen by a Sinner tomorrow. Now I'm going to go wash my face and go to bed. probably read a little bit more of Stolen by the Sinner before I go to bed, but I need to go to bed early because I gotta wake up early. Hello. It is time for a book update. And I'm a little bit tired, so it's not going to be a very long update as I hoped would happen. So today was my first day back at the hospital after quarantining and all that jazz, and it was a Sunday, so it wasn't as busy, which meant that I had some time to actually read on my phone on my Kindle app, which was really nice, and I was able to finish Stolen by a Sinner. I did enjoy this book. I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. I think it's just a really sweet romance. I think that's what I've come to realize about the last 2 books in the series, because I've said multiple times I didn't really like Taken by a Sinner, but Owned by a Sinner and Stolen by a Sinner both have a really, really sweet quality to them. Even though the heroes are the heads of their, mafia faction, they are very sweet to either their, family members who deserve it, because stuff that happens in Owned by a Sinner. Gabriel's really softened by the presence of his grandmother, who he adores very much, and also, his longtime housekeeper, but also kind of like raised him as well, Nisa. And I really like the relationship between Gabriel and his staff, and that has a big impact on Laura coming from such a horrible, upbringing and background of abuse. And the way that the romance developed, it had to be gradual, right? So Laura being so abused by somebody who basically owned her, and finally being able to have any sort of human connection, like a relationship, friendship with people, obviously she feels grateful to Gabriel when she stops fearing him. So it's like a fine line to tread on feeling gratefulness and beholden to this person, feel like you owe them. And I really did like that Gabriel made that a point in the relationship. Like, I don't want you to have feelings. Like, I don't want you to transfer your feelings of gratefulness. I didn't save you. I actually shot you. Like, you could have died. And she's just like, no, you brought me into this family, and I do have feelings for you. And he's just like, as long as they're true feelings, like, examine your feelings, make sure that they're for me. But again, I found myself really wondering what, besides the kind of like joyous wonderment, almost like childlike realization of things, like discovering things that you like for the first time, like a child discovering what their passions are and stuff like that. Like, Gabriel was watching Laura come out of her shell, and he really admired that quality of innocence, and he mentioned that a couple of times, and it didn't creep me out, but also it wasn't enough to make me like really fall in love with them as a couple. I wanted like more, and I feel like maybe if Laura had a little bit more time to grow into being like a full-grown woman, maybe I would have enjoyed their relationship a little bit more, because even though Gabriel opened up this world to her, it's still a very small world. She still really has to stay at Gabriel's house for the majority of the time. They do go on shopping expeditions, but she wants to finish school. She stopped school at 16, and they say, yeah, you can do online courses and all that, but we never really see her interact with anybody outside of Gabriel's inner circle. So I just feel like if we saw Laura get a life first and then still choose Gabriel, and see him like date her and court her outside of all of the mafia stuff, it would have been like a deeper, more impactful relationship for me. So again, it was still really sweet, but I didn't feel terribly attached to them as a couple. So that's why I gave it 4 stars, not 5 stars, 4 stars. That's why I gave it 4 stars. So I did really enjoy it. I'm still going to continue reading this series, absolutely. I think that Michelle Hurd writes some very sweet alpha heroes. And I do, except for book 1. We can just throw that whole book away. I don't like that one. I did end up by starting another book, but I have a feeling that I have quite enough footage for my weekend reading vlog, and I don't want to talk about that book because I probably won't finish it until tomorrow anyway. But yeah, I was able to start another book, and I do have thoughts on that one. So I don't know, maybe I'll do another week-long vlog. I don't know. I've been reading quite a bit these past couple of days. It may have a lot to do with me staying at home and not having any other distractions because I couldn't go anywhere. So I don't want to put too many books on one single vlog. I'd rather do a weekly wrap up if I have 10 books a week or something like that. But if I have limited time to read, these vlogs are a really good choice because I get to sit down and really like go into more details of what I really like about a book in the moment, which is really fun. Okay guys, so I hope that you enjoyed this kind of little different style of video that I attempted to do. and I kind of look forward to the next one. Maybe I'll probably definitely do a weekend reading vlog if I don't do a week reading vlog, because yeah, anyway, I had a good time. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified on any future videos that I do. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.